Welcome back, and this is the Urban Debate at 9 p.m. here tonight. One more time, viewers, we will put the spotlight on migrants and the huge mess that has happened over the trains that were supposed to take these migrants back home. Every day there is a new controversy, every day there is a new fight, and every day we get heartbreaking visuals of the pain and the struggle that these migrants are actually going through. Imagine after 2 months of a lockdown, 2 months of no job, no money, having to live and having to be dependent on the state to give you food, they finally managed to get on a train, hoping to reach home in the next 24-36 hours. And then in the train, what happens if you don't even get the basic food, basic water? Now, the plan was that at the starting station, the state governments will ensure food is provided, and if the journey is more than 12 hours, then the railways is going to provide them with more food and water. But instance after instance that's come out, and you will see it from the visuals, is that every time a train has stopped at some platform, migrants have just run out. These passengers, these people have run out and jumped on the food packets and on water bottles and tried to take whatever they could get their hands on, fought with each other. Now, this can only happen because we've not given them food and water on the train. And I find it frankly very, very surprising. Indian Railways is so huge. It runs such mammoth operations otherwise at such large scale that I don't understand how we fail to do this. But unfortunately, this is not what the governments are concerned about. This is not what the governments are talking to each other about. All we see is all day long fights and bickering and finger pointing and accusing each other over who did not do their part. You didn't ask for trains, I did ask for trains, you didn't give me the trains, I gave you a list, you didn't give me the list for the last 2 hours, for the last 5 hours, your list had lesser trains than what I had asked you for, you didn't tell me before changing the policy, you didn't inform me that you wanted more trains. It just goes on and on. Frankly, I'm not even going to go into the details of what was said today because it's just so pointless. What is not happening is actual help to the migrants. They're still hungry. They're still struggling for trains. They still don't know when they will reach home. And the blame game simply just continues. For how long? Can't we just admit that there are some faults at all ends and that we're not talking properly to each other? That the states and the center are actually just politicizing this issue and not talking to each other? That's the only question I actually want to ask our panelists this evening. Let's say good evening to Anshul Avjit, National Spokesperson for the Congress Party, Shweta Shalini of the BJP, Vijay Kumar Dutt, former additional member of the Railway Board, and Mr. Yogendra Yadav, National President of Swaraj India. Mr. Yadav, let's begin with you because frankly these visuals have been very, very disturbing. People jumping out, and rushing and fighting for those food packets. Now, this is a railways department that's famous for, carrying and ferrying lakhs of passengers on a daily basis. How can we be struggling here?
Tamanna, as you pointed out, Railway is a large organization, very old organization, and a very professional organization. They actually carry something like 2 crore people every day. And what pains me, besides, of course, the most obvious pain of human beings, their sufferings and so on, is that it makes Indian Railways look like a joke, which it is not. Indian Railway is a very professional organization. And I suspect that at the root of all this, now I agree that these are not, there's a standard routine to the way trains run. These are out of routine. These are not bound by these things. But Railway handled such things as well in the past. I really think that at the root of it is indecisive and whimsical political leadership. I don't think anyone would talk about it in public. I don't expect railway officials to talk to you about it. But the simple fact is that the railway minister at the moment happens to be someone who is known to be whimsical, known to be someone who issues instant orders and then expects everyone to carry that out in a few hours. The simple fact remains that initially, when the railway board had actually offered to run trains, the PMO said, don't run it. When railways started running the trains, there was this huge confusion about who pays. All kinds of publicity stunts were played. And the fact is that the central government did not want to do it. Then, when the railway wanted to run it, then all kinds of political games were being played. Don't allow it, let Bihar do it, let this one do it, let Gujarat do it, and so on and so forth. And then suddenly one day, Mr. Railway Minister has a meltdown and says, now please do it. Even if I don't issue an order, you can assume that I have issued an order. And then wants things to be done double quick in next few hours. This is what has led a professional organization like Railway to take the kind of decisions that they have taken, to perform in the most shameful manner that it has done. I do not possibly blame Railway as an organization or even its officials. I don't know any of them. But I do think it's a massive failure of political leadership. At this critical point, they were interested in scoring political points rather than in carrying people safely and with dignity.
Okay, in fact, let me also bring in Mr. Dutt before I go across to our political representatives for a response. Mr. Vijay Kumar Dutt, in your experience, does this look like a complicated job? The trains that are being initiated at the request of the home states, the center gives approval, the list is made. Of course, it's difficult to quickly make those lists of who will be on which train. But how can we not be able to get them water and food on the train?
I am a ex-railwayman and proud to be a railwayman. Once a railwayman, always a railwayman. In my personal capacity, my juniors running, I am intimately watching this thing. I, Ms. Shukla, totally disagree with you and with Yadav sir, what they have said. See, railways have carried 3,274 trains, carried 44 lakhs, and they have committed to carry 24 lakhs more Shramik special. And not only that, if anything is remaining, more will be carried. Then you have 15 pairs of trains. Then you have special trains. Then you have 200 more pairs, 200 more trains starting from 1st of June. See, Ms. Shukla, the problem is there is an invisible enemy. In the history of mankind, it has never happened. The requirement has never been seen. And for this government, see, democracy, we are the people, we are the government. We, every individual, whether it is state, whether center, they have to unite to fight. And they are uniting. The general impression that no. But yes, when a new thing comes, there is a learning curve. You learn from mistakes. Go ahead with the mistakes. I will just give you a very simple answer to Shramik Special. Ma'am, if you register with your Aadhaar card, with your medical, your waiting list number is there, and some call will come to you, such and such date, this train will ferry you. I'm telling of the people who have gone. Then it is the responsibility that we have to keep this. It may be 3 days, it may be 4 days. They should get food, they should get shelter, and assurance you will get your place. I know at least 10 families who talk. Now you go to Shivaji Park, you are received, you are given food. Then you are guided to the train. Every time, say 3 minutes, it's not easy to carry meal when there is nothing moving. But base kitchens are working round the clock. I have talked to people. They said, we were given food. Then I checked that, say, train reaches Lucknow or say Gorak. They are deboarded on a platform. It is totally sanitized, totally quarantined. Officials come. They have the list with them. They are given food at the platform. Then guided. Say a person has to go to Rudoli, a village near Rudoli. Now, Faizabad is the district. Bus carries him to the Faizabad. There is a food on the bus. Official receive him. Again, food is given. Then they are taking on it. Please listen to me. Please listen to me. They are taken to the Rudoli. The Tehsil headquarter, food is given. The Pradhan of the village meets him and carries the family to the doorstep and gives the instruction. This is how. So this is the success story which is going on. See, what you are showing, say exceptions prove the rule. There are exceptions. If there is no exception, no management is required. What is required to be done? Then there is another problem. I will share because say if you have a Aadhaar card in which your address is of Bombay, then you are not eligible even if your village is in Bahraich. What do you do for that? For that, state government has to, I have spoken to, say in one case, Gujarat government, right up to the highest level, the resident commissioner. They say, sir, we are clueless, helpless. But you need not be helpless. This family was given a accommodation on the special train, put there, they were received at Ahmedabad, similar thing, and they were taken to the doorstep of their house, very happy and put. So, see, asto ma sadkame, tamso ma jyotirkame. The light, let light not take, the darkness not take away the light. There's a lot of positive things, Ms. Shukla, happening. And thirdly, see, this train which will start from
No, I agree with you, Mr. Dutt, completely. Obviously, because there are hundreds of people being taken every day, many of them are reaching their own places, and a lot of help is required, not just from the government, but officials like you who may be helping them. Mr. Dutt, I get that point. But that doesn't mean that there are instances like the ones that are emerging should happen. They cannot happen, and we can't ignore them. Each train that is carrying thousands of passengers, and those passengers don't get food or water, it is shameful. Now, am I to expect this, Shweta, Shalini, that when 200 trains start from June 1st, will those people go hungry as well? Or is it just special treatment that we have for our migrants? Because nobody cares about them. They are just the daily laborers, poor people of our country. Just put them on a train, send them, maybe they'll reach Uttar Pradesh, maybe they'll reach Odisha. Let's see.
Tanvi ji, I think you have hugely forgotten that we are talking about lockdown times. I think Yogendra ji practically forgot when he said that Railway has done something like this before. See, COVID times are unprecedented times. We have never seen an invisible enemy like this before, and we have never handled situations like this before. So we are all struggling, but we are all fighting. And what we are basically saying is, please shun away the politics. Let's fight in this together. Now let's understand this. How can you ask me this question that is it going to be the same post the lockdown? Well, are the messes operating right now? Are the vendors operating right now? Are the centralized kitchen operating? There is absolutely no food that Railways is making. In fact, our railway drivers and railway functionaries...
I am not assuming, unlike you, that on June 1st the lockdown will be lifted, Shweta, Shalini.
Please don't.
I am not even assuming that June 1st the lockdown will be lifted. I am saying even in the current conditions, the government has decided to start 200 trains. Now, are you telling me those 200 trains, food will be provided, but not for these poor people?
Food?
What does that mean? Please understand there is COVID, so people should go hungry in this country.
No, absolutely not. You need to understand that there needs to be... Now, it is easy for Yogendra ji to say that this political leader is whimsical. He is calling a performance-oriented leader whimsical just because he is actually focused on performing. At 2 o'clock in the night, he is getting the entire thing ready and saying that the trains will be available to you tomorrow. Now, please understand that as soon as the states asked the railway department that you give us trains, the responsibility was broken, and it was said that you will give us a list, we will give you the trains, we will ensure that they go from here to here. Now, there are 1,200 trains which have gone to Bihar, there are 1,500 trains which have gone to UP. Most of these two states have covered most of the trains out of the 3,265 trains that have gone. So, obviously, a few of them have been made to take certain different paths. None of the trains have lost their ways. The railway department and the officers are completely in control, and so is the leader. He's extremely performance-oriented. You should see the past when he actually electrified the entire country. He ensured that there was LED bulbs across India, and it shows. Last year, not a single accident happened in railway.
Shweta, Shalini, I just think about it. Miss Shalini, I just think about it. I don't want to sit here and argue whether the train driver lost his way, because that's as ridiculous as saying that this is a new route that we came up with. But think about those people who woke up to the fact that instead of approaching Uttar Pradesh, they were in Odisha. Think about whether you would attempt to do it with a regular passenger train that was supposed to go on this route. We wouldn't. It used to be the story of the 80s and the 90s that the train would be running 36 hours late. It doesn't happen anymore, and our route management is much better than that. Did we inform the people? Did we give them food? No. Now the question is this, Anshul, Avijit. It is the responsibility of the states from where the trains are leaving. That doesn't mean people go hungry and are abandoned and dumped anywhere. But here is my question to Anshul, Avijit. It is also the state's responsibility to ensure food and water is provided on these trains from the station of departure. Then how is it that in so many instances we are seeing that people are hungry halfway through this train travel? They don't have water. They're pouncing on water bottles. Are we not providing them enough? Are we just giving them off one box and one small little bottle and hoping that this will suffice them through a 36-hour journey?
No, I'm completely stunned and speechless when you see these pictures unfold before you. I mean, I think that what we have done to our labor and our migrant labor class is one of the greatest betrayals I've seen in modern Indian history. I mean, they've been humiliated, they've been undermined. And, you know, Yogendra ji spoke about the capriciousness and the ad hocism of the railway minister when he can't decide what to do. He commits to something and then pulls back. I would go a step further. You know, before I come to your point about states providing or not, I would go to a step further and talk about the Prime Minister's speech, that random stream of consciousness that he gave 2 weeks back, in which he spoke about everything about the Mahanta of Bharat. But not a word, not a sensitive word about our migrant labor. Now, this stems from the top. Now, when you have a prime minister who's being so insensitive and you've made the labor this kind of a terrible metaphor of this crisis, what do you expect from the railway minister? I mean, he's just this complete monumental inefficiency on the part of the center. And, you know, I heard this talk about this being an unprecedented thing in the history of our country. Well, of course, the pandemic is unprecedented. But if you don't show sensitivity, if you don't have coordination between the center and the state, time and again, Congress states are saying, please improve the coordination between the center and the states. You've had 4 meetings with the Prime Minister in which he spoke to the chief ministers. A number of suggestions were given, but not one of them was followed. Now, if you have this kind of apathy, if you have this kind of insensitivity, if you don't regard the opinion of our chief ministers when they're constantly saying,
no,
listen, provide...
I'm sorry, Anshul.
Where do you go? You're going to have this
Anshul,
kind
Abhijit, I don't want generic comments here, please. Yes,
Can
just like I'm not going to take Shweta, Shalini telling me these are unprecedented times. I'm going to ask you also, Anshul, Abhijit, to not make generic comments. They don't help. Let's just leave those generic comments for, you know, Janta bites that are given by big politicians or Twitter fights that our ministers and chief ministers and everybody else is having. The fact of the matter is, right now, there is a massive fight going on between states and the center, and it is the people who are suffering. Now, my question to you is, why can't parties simply just give up on the charade and talk to each other and resolve the issue? Or is it that we don't care about these people?
You know, how can that be? Where does the buck stop? Who owes the primary responsibility for what is happening? Who controls the railway ministry? I mean,
States
somebody has to show someone who is responsible.
States as well.
Now,
states are supposed to provide for food and water.
Please improve the coordination, talk to us.
States are supposed to provide a list of people for whom trains are needed.
Then these kind of pictures these shameful pictures will unfold before our eyes. What can we do?
No, but the states are responsible as well. The states are responsible for making the list of migrant people who need to be put on the trains, to put it out, to forward it to the central government. The states are supposed to prepare. They should have used this time to prepare their own health infrastructure for those people who are coming, instead of now saying, oh, don't send everybody together. We cannot even manage this load. The states are supposed to ensure that there is food and water as well that's given at the departing station. All of this the states are also supposed to do, apart from the central government coming out with a comprehensive policy. But none of that is actually happening right now. Mr. Yogendra Yadav, this whole, there was this another controversy that took place about rerouting some trains and taking them via another route because there was apparently a jam and too many trains going on this one route, which also I find difficult to understand, considering that how many trains otherwise in normal times go on these tracks. But that being said, does this look like a breakdown of communication between states and centre? And is this how it's going to continue even from post June 1st when trains begin?
Tanvi, I'm no expert on railway traffic, so I would not answer that one, because I think someone who knows much better, maybe Mr. Datta knows better, he would explain that. My general point is simply this. My general point is, I'm not a railway man, but I'm a proud user of Indian Railways. In the last 20, 30 years, I don't know how many people I must have said, what a great organization Indian Railways is, because whenever I've gone abroad and checked their trains, no one in the world offers you this kind of a train facility for this kind of a price that we get in India. But as a proud user of Indian Railways, I feel ashamed by the reports that are coming in the last 3-4 days. Anyone who says that what we have witnessed in the last 4 or 5 days is an example of success of Indian Railway, that person is clearly not a friend of Indian Railways. Sometimes saying that what I have seen is bad, I'm ashamed of it, is a true marker of affection, love, and respect for the organization. Someone who closes his eyes and says, good or bad, I'm a railway man, I will support whatever Railways does, and does not do. That person is not really a friend of Indian Railways. I just wanted to submit that. More importantly, I think railway works on SOPs. It's a professional organization. So before a train leaves, you clearly know who will supply how many bottles of water or food at which station at what time. All these things are written down. This is not oral decisions taken by someone. Clearly, those SOPs have broken down. Clearly, in the 50 days that were available to the railway minister to think, plan, design about how railways will be resumed, those days were not used. Clearly, even after trains were started, for the first 5-6 days, politics was priority. Clearly, at that time, running AC trains was a priority, not running these Shramik trains. And clearly, we have betrayed these workers having to drink toilet water and virtually dying with the thirst and food. If that is not an indictment of our system, what else is it? I do not want to hear spiritual inanities on this program. Nothing can be more insulting to railways than to utter spiritual inanities. This being an invisible, this thing. Has railway not run special trains in the past? Has railway not done evacuation in the past? Did railway not have 50 days to plan and think about it? What was happening here? If the political leader is not responsible, if the two people here want to defend the political boss, then I'm afraid then the brunt will have to be taken by officials of railways, who I still think are not to be blamed.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I just want to highlight this to our viewers as well. Viewers, in the initial days, there were a few cases and pleas that went to the top court about the plight of the migrants and what should be done. At that point of time, Supreme Court was of the view that the government will handle it. It's a pandemic time and then they will take care of it. But as the way things have unfolded in the last many, many weeks, despite issues being highlighted again and again, as problems continue and hundreds of them are still suffering, today the Supreme Court had no option but to step in. And the Supreme Court has put the onus both on the states and the centre, because these visuals are obviously will have an impact on anybody who sees them. These stories that are emerging, that if we can't provide basic food and water and a train back home, despite having now a decision, having taken this decision weeks ago, then obviously something is going wrong. Shweta, Shalini, to you that question, and then to Anshul Avjit. The Supreme Court has had to say this and issue a notice to the governments, including the centre.
Yes, we share the responsibility of the trains going from one place to another, because we are ruling the centre. The railway ministry comes under us. But we need to understand, Supreme Court will understand, and the people who are watching you need to understand that there is a split between responsibilities of the center and the state. The state asks for trains. Now, getting the train ready, ensuring that it runs safe and it reaches the destination is the responsibility of the center. Providing the list and seeing that the people are screened before they go onto the train and ensuring that social distancing is managed is the responsibility of the state. Now, when you ask the question to Anshul ji, do you think he answered the question? When he was giving a huge sermon like his leader who talked a lot of strategic things, he also talked a lot of strategic things but did not answer why the states were not making food and water available to these Shramiks. Now, you ask the question to Yogendra ji about the routes. Please ask Datta ji and he will be able to tell you. There are so many. This is unprecedented times. We have never seen something like this before. Yes, a lot of trains travel, but they are gapped. They have, and usual SOPs do not apply during these pandemic times. So these times are very, very different. What we have done is people, and the state that you are talking about, giving an example about is Maharashtra. There are 9.5 lakh Shramiks registered in Maharashtra. 7.5 lakh Shramiks in 526 trains have already been transported to their homes. And this is the success of railways. This is what the officials are doing. They are in the front line fighting. And what are the states doing? They are politicizing the matter and blaming each one of them. I think I still want to say this and put it on record that our minister is a very performing minister. He wants to cooperate. We all want to cooperate. We want the state and especially the opposition states to practically stop politicizing the issues because migrant labor, Shramik trains is extremely important for the country and for the pandemic to be stopped and lockdown to get over post.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. And I am not sitting here to question the intentions. I'm sure he has very good intentions. But Shweta, Shalini, you must think twice before you say that, you know, there is absolutely no problem with what the central government and the railways minister and the ministry is doing. There are reports coming in every day of people going hungry for 2 straight days in these trains.
That is the responsibility of the state. Please, Tanvi.
And not getting any food. No. After 12 hours, no. The responsibility of the states, no. Please listen to what I said initially. The responsibility of the states is at the starting point to ensure state and food and water is given. If the journey is more than 12 hours, which state is going to give that? Then the center has to step in. Then the railways has to step in and ensure that there is food and water. The railways is running this train. There has to be some responsibility there. That's not happening. All we've seen is Chhattisgarh is not approving our trains. Jharkhand is not giving permission to our trains. Maharashtra is not giving us list of the trains. Kerala is not taking the trains. West Bengal doesn't want trains. All kinds of reasons are being given to us. Apart from details of what's actually happening on ground. That's my problem. That is the problem that I have right now. It's not as if, Shweta, Shalini, the trains from Gujarat are not getting cancelled to Uttar Pradesh. Tell me why are trains from Gujarat to Uttar Pradesh getting cancelled?
Because
now, which opposition party do you want to blame for that?
Because Maharashtra's chief minister goes on air on Facebook and then tells the railway minister that we asked for 80 trains. Gujarat's chief minister picks up the phone and talks to the...
I'm asking you about Gujarat.
I'm telling you about...
So because Maharashtra chief minister openly talks about it, you...
Why should he?
No, I am asking you, why are trains from Gujarat to Uttar Pradesh from a BJP ruled state to a... So, because he's openly talking about it, you will not give trains?
Because there is coordination, because the chief minister is talking, because the departments are talking, because the chief
minister... No, there is no coordination. That's exactly my point. You didn't hear my question.
Trains are not...
You didn't hear my question.
Today, 65 trains...
You didn't hear my question. Trains from Gujarat to Uttar Pradesh Trains from Gujarat, a BJP governed state, to trains to going to Uttar Pradesh, a BJP governed state, are also getting cancelled. Shweta, Shalini, this has nothing to do with Uddhav Thackeray or Maharashtra. This is a BJP governed state to a BJP governed state, Gujarat to Uttar Pradesh.
Please understand that if there are no lists
You cannot
available,
blame anybody else for this.
Please then, if there are no lists available, trains will get cancelled. And whether it is from any state. So there is no politics in this. The fact is that there needs to be a list. The railways need to plan the trains, and that is the reason why they need lists. They need planning. They need to plan the route. They need to plan the gap between two trains, and that's precisely what the minister is saying.
So if there was no list available, how does the train get planned to begin with? How does a train get planned if there is no list available to begin with?
Because the state asked for those many trains. The Maharashtra state asked for 80 trains per day. We gave them 125, but then they gave the list of only 41. And
I keep asking you about Gujarat, you keep coming back to Maharashtra. I am fed up of the fight that Maharashtra and Centre is having. Mr. Piyush Goyal and Uddhav Thackeray, the fight that's happening between them. Frankly, I don't care. I care about the people who need to go back to their home states, and that's not happening here. The Railways Minister has taken on a fight with Uddhav Thackeray, with Bhupesh Baghel, with Hemant Soren, with Pinarayi Vijayan, with every single state that is not run by the BJP publicly. But that doesn't mean that even those states that are being run by the BJP, things are smooth. Even for your Gujarat, there are train cancellations that are taking place. Trains are stuck in UP, in Bihar. People are not getting food. They are fighting on platforms in UP and Bihar. Please, let's not make it about political parties. Unfortunately, that's all which is happening here. Chief ministers, government officials, top ministers are all willing to lash out at each other in front of cameras and on social media. How many of them are actually picking up the phone and resolving this issue? Our experts here, as well as Mr. Yogendra Yadav, both were right. This is not something that the railways cannot handle. There has to be a will to do it. And if this is the situation right now, imagine what happens when 200 more trains, additional trains, passengers trains, start from June 1st. Imagine the level of fight and bickering that the states and the centre will indulge into at that point. I can hope it doesn't happen. We will wait and watch. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation. Welcome back, viewers. You may have seen some reports of a locust attack, a locust threat that many of our states are facing today, and how it's become a big concern, especially for the farm sector, for the farmers at this point of time. In fact, the worst affected states have been Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Haryana and Punjab, and they are staring at a massive threat right now as swarms of desert locusts that can cause large-scale destruction to the farm fields are moving from one state to the other. Now tonight, just for the next few minutes, I want to focus on this issue, try and understand what it is and what could be the possible impact. In some states like Rajasthan, the government has already begun to respond to it, but the extent of damage could be huge. These swarms have been seen in Sehor, in Jhansi, in Madhya Pradesh, in Noida in Uttar Pradesh, in Jaipur in Rajasthan. Large number of locusts attacked crops in the Jhansi-Babina region. In fact, that was the latest information that we got today as well. Now, just to give you a brief insight into it before I go to our experts on what is a locust plague. Locust is an insect essentially, and it belongs to the family of the grasshoppers. You see hundreds and lakhs of them actually travel together in large groups. That's how they move from one to the other. They eat the crops, and they're considered to be a very, very destructive migratory pest. Why is it that suddenly we are looking at this challenge? Does it happen annually? Is it unusual? Is it larger than the usual times? These are some of the questions that I have for our experts. So let's say good evening to those who are joining us. Ajay Jhakar, Chairman of the Bharat Krishak Samaj, and Devendra Sharma, Food Policy Analyst, also with us. Let me speak to Mr. Jhakar first. Mr. Ajay Jhakar, can you explain to us if this is an annual phenomena, if it's very unusual what we are witnessing right now in many parts of the country, this locust threat?
This is not annual phenomena, and it happens. It used to happen more regularly earlier. Over 20 years, we have seen this unprecedented attack which is coming in, and basically it has to do with weather conditions in Africa, and the weather was good for these swarms to develop in Africa, and now they are flying and coming towards India, towards the east. That's what the FAO has also said. But this problem has just started. It's just the beginning of the problem. I think it will get much worse as time goes on in the next few months.
So what does that mean really for a common person to understand? What should we be preparing for?
So first is, what does it mean? It means that one locust is a migratory grasshopper, and it weighs around 2 grams. So one grasshopper can eat its own weight every day. It can eat as much as its own weight every day. So a very small swarm of, let's say, 1 square kilometer can eat enough food in one day for 30 to 50,000 people. And if you have swarms of 10 to 50 square kilometers, you can imagine how much food they will eat. So it could also endanger food security of the nation. It will 100% endanger and destroy livelihoods of those farmers on whose farm these locusts arrive. So my farm is on the border with Pakistan. So we saw the first locust that came in January. And we also had locust around 2 weeks ago. We had a few of them which came in a few weeks ago. So it's a really dangerous time for India. So this is how the problem is. It has just started, and we can talk more on this.
Okay, so what would be our first line of defense? How do we deal with this kind of a threat?
So what we deal is, we will get advisories from FAO, which will tell us what is happening in Africa and how these swarms are traveling towards India. So what I see is that FAO gives a weekly advisory. It gives a weekly bulletin which tells you the movement of these swarms. So at the moment, FAO has said that India is in the orange zone, which is a threat. Your agriculture is threatened, and it is also showing movement from Horn of Africa and from Iran towards India, and all of India is threatened because of this. Now, there are many ways to tackle this. First, we must recognize that this problem is a national disaster, and states on their own do not have the capacity to solve this problem, to mitigate this problem, or to do away with this problem. Central government will have to play a very crucial role in what they're going to do about it. We also need to understand that these swarms travel a distance of 130 kilometers to 150 kilometers a day. So they travel very fast. And you cannot kill the swarms in the daytime because they are always hopping and they're traveling. So you have to have a dual strategy. If they come to your field, then you have to make noise and you have to try and push them away from your field. What the farmer will do is he'll make sure that they don't sit on his farm. So what he can do is he can remove the silencer of his tractor so that the tractor starts making more noise. They can pick up pans and utensils and bang and make loud amount of noise, or they can use these Diwali crackers like Sutli bomb or something and make noise that they go away. Now these locusts will rest at night. When they rest at night, that is the time in the evening that you have to spray. Now there are 2 ways to do it. So if you can do spraying by tractor trolley. So normally a tractor and a water tanker normally has a 2,000 liter capacity. A 2,000 liter capacity water tanker will only spray around 10 acres. So if you have a swarm of a size of 1 square kilometer, you need around 25 tankers of 2,000 liters to spray on it. It's not an easy task because it needs to be coordinated, and it's not necessary the water will be available to fill the water tankers to spray this. So it's a complicated task. And what I recommend and what I think the government has now started to do is to look at the option of aerial spraying with helicopters and planes. The states definitely cannot do it. And I think so. We are already 1 month late in planning. Pakistan declared a national emergency for locusts in January. I think so. We have started to move. The central government has started to move now, but it must move very fast. The time for central government to give advisories and give bulletins is long gone. It must act immediately and make these aeroplanes and helicopters available for spraying.
Okay, that's very, very interesting. In fact, let's also say good evening to Devendra Sharma, food policy analyst. Mr. Sharma, we were just talking about, the threat that India is facing right now, and Ajay Jakar, chairman of the Bharat Krishak Samaj, is telling us that, the government needs to start acting now. If you can get more insights into what kind of impact and damage can possibly happen because of this threat.
Well, I think Ajay Jakarji has very rightly spelled out what has to be done and what is being done, because he is right down there and faced with this kind of problem, and he is really in trying to control that. So he knows it better as to what the damage can be and so on. But as you just said, as far as the nation is concerned, as far as the attack is concerned, let's be clear about two things. There was a warning from FAO telling us very clearly, categorically, that this time the attack can be in May, June. You don't have to wait till July, October period when normally the locust attack is there. And so this was a period when they had already specified, already warned us. How much can be the damage? We have already seen that the locust has spread to locust swarms have spread to 7 states, and that clearly tells us that it has made inroads into the areas where normally it shouldn't go. For the Pradesh or even Maharashtra, it has gone to Vidarbha region also, is an indication that perhaps we were not able to control it that effectively. The kind of action that should have been taken, which I think Ajay Jakarji was trying to tell us. How damaging it could be, I think, let's be very clear. Farmers are passing through a lockdown situation. They've already suffered a lot from lockdown. Perishable commodities we have suffered a lot, and so on. And now they have another attack of locust. So the combination of lockdown and locust can be deadly for the farmers. It's quite obvious. And it's happening in an area which is the food belt of this country. And so although this is a season when at least the rabi crops have been harvested, the kharif crops are cotton is sown, but in other areas paddy will take up soon. But we are more worried as to what will happen in June and July if the locust continues to prevail as we have seen by now. How damaging it could be is very clear that if a big swarm, let's say 5-10 kilometers appears, it can clean up any crop field or an area which it passes through in minutes, and that tells you how severe the devastation can be. We have seen recently in Africa, the swarms have been as big as 2,000 square kilometers. So imagine the kind of destruction that has been done in those areas. But luckily in India, we don't have that kind of a big swarm till today. And we will perhaps, we have 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers is what is being said. And this would mean that it has definitely power to ravage the crops wherever it passes through. So here is a danger. We have to be ready with it. We have to be.
So actually, Mr. Sharma, that's one of the questions. Right. No, in fact, if I can just come in there, that's one of the questions that I had, because considering that we've just seen the harvest of one season of crop, even though it got delayed in many parts because of the COVID pandemic, one would assume that the damage would be lesser right now to the standing crops because we've just finished the season. But you are saying that this could continue for several months, at least a couple of more months, which is where the bigger threat lies?
See, what I'm saying is the rabi crop, luckily we have harvested them, but there are still crops there in the field. As I said, we have sown cotton. We are going to sow paddy soon. There are other crops also, fruits and vegetables already there. So wherever the insect will appear, it will, as I said, it will ravage the entire crop field. Now, if this attack goes up to June and then July, that's a thing that's a period that we must try to ensure that at least the attack doesn't appear at that particular time, which means we take adequate measures to control it now. That's the point I'm trying to make. And if it is not controllable, or if it is not controlled,
Yes,
and it
okay.
goes on to problem spills over, we will have a serious problem.
Okay. In fact, let me also ask Mr. Jakar if he wants to come in on this point, Mr. Jakar, that this is something that in many other neighboring countries, they've already declared a big emergency. It's been going on since the beginning of this year, but we are beginning to see a larger impact now. That's what you're telling us. Could that also mean that we need to brace ourselves for several more months? And how do we do that?
So first of all, I think this attack we cannot stop them from coming to India because they're going to come from across the border. And I think so Pakistan's also making efforts, but obviously they're not making as much effort as India is making because their capacity to make that much impact is less. But this is not going to stop by June. It is going to continue till, I think so, till October or something. This is not going to stop soon. In fact, I wrote about this in last June and I said this problem is coming, and all the scientists laughed at me because news reports were coming in from Africa and none of us believed it. The locust that came in winters to India was a historic first time. Normally, locusts never come in winters. They always come in the dry season or mainly after the rains come in. So this is an exceptional year. Problem is not going to go away. It needs to be tackled at an absolute emergency. And as far as crops are concerned, locusts like to eat smaller crops like cotton plants, fresh cotton plants, moong plants, moong crop. Only if they don't find crops closer to the ground will they sit on trees and eat fruit trees and other green material. So that must also be kept in mind. And I don't think so this problem is going to be solved this year because climate change plays a great role. How climate is changing, you're getting more humidity in many places, which is conducive for development of these swarms in Africa. And I think this is a problem that has not come for 2-3 decades, but now is not going to go away very quickly. So we need to set our system in place. One big suggestion I have for the government, and one big problem I see, because my village is 5 kilometers from the border with Pakistan. If states are going to get an advisory from the central government or from FAO once a week, it is not good enough. We need better coordination with Pakistan because all these swarms are going to come in. Most of them are going to come in from Pakistan. So we get a 1 or 2 day advance notice from Pakistan, and that information is given to various block and districts, bordering districts with Pakistan in Gujarat, Punjab, and in Rajasthan. I think so that is what we need to do. And what I'm also told is that there is a meeting between the Locust warning organization between India and Pakistan that will be taking place every month from next month onwards. But I sincerely think that we need to get an advisory on movement of locust coming into India 2 days before they arrive, a day before they arrive. So border districts are prepared for this. And I think central government is going to help. It is already coordinating. We just need to make sure this aerial spraying and helicopter spraying happens very, very fast. And if possible, if Pakistan allows us, then we should if required, I think the Indian government should pay for aerial spraying in Pakistan, because it's better to stop it there than to fight the menace when it's on our fields. And Pakistan will be happy to oblige because it helps them also.
Okay.
We have to do it together.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate both of you experts joining us and shedding all this light and helping us understand just what it is that we're staring at, and the fact that it is such an important issue that also needs our government's immediate and urgent attention. You heard it, viewers. Some of our experts, they're also saying that not just now, the government should have moved on it a long time ago, but now they need to get a little bit more proactive in terms of putting out the warnings there and advisories there, so that people on the ground, the farmers, they know when to act to protect their fields. Otherwise, these locusts, which are like grasshoppers and come in huge swarms and hundreds of them and fly down, will destroy our fields and destroy the food that you and I would eat. And that could have a very, very, very detrimental impact on our future. Think about it. Thank you so much for joining us in this conversation. Now, before and I thank our guests as well. Before I wrap up this edition of the Urban Debate, there is one story, viewers, that I want to bring to your attention. And this is the story about our VVIP violators. While you and I are trying to follow norms, and we should, it is our responsibility, our civic responsibility as well, to ensure social distancing, to follow the rules of the lockdown and to do our part in this coronavirus. There are netas who still don't get it. 2 months into this lockdown, there are netas who still think they are more important than our war against coronavirus. Tonight, I give you 4 examples that have come in just the last 48 hours. Example number 1 is former Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu, who entered and returned to Amravati yesterday with a huge convoy. It was a big bang return that took place, and at one point, when he was interacting with people, it became a concern. Then comes the example from Bihar, where one neta, one minister, went to meet a migrant to show how they all care about migrants who've returned. He entered a migrant's house with a large number of people without any bother about social distancing norms. Then in Haryana, an MLA of BJP actually entered a containment zone with his convoy to show again that he cares. He entered a containment zone. And of course, you heard yesterday itself, you saw the visuals of Manoj Tiwari of the BJP playing cricket without a mask, interacting with people, clicking selfies. Now, Manoj Tiwari says he didn't break any rules, but we'll get to that story in just a bit. First up, in fact, I want to give you more details of what happened in Jhansi, in Haryana, where the BJP MLA brazenly entered a containment zone, not just by himself, but he actually took his entire convoy inside. He's seen at the barricades, asking for these barricades to be removed so that he can enter. His visit actually triggers a lot more movement and crowding that takes place in otherwise which was a very calm containment zone. But the MLA is extremely brazen about it. He is actually even defending his move now. Listen in.
मैंने जो देखा कि कंटेनमेंट एरिया बहुत बड़ा कर दिया था, उसको एक बार एसडीएम साहब और इससे भी बड़ा कंटेनमेंट एरिया इस शहर में भी है, काफी और जगह पे भी है, इतना बड़ा एरिया नहीं था। इससे बड़ा एरिया कहीं भी नहीं है। मैंने चारों ओर पूछ लिया, डीसी मैडम से बात हो गई, सीएमओ से बात हो गई। ऐसा लोग तो आजादी चाहते हैं, लोग तो चाहते हैं कि हम बाहर निकलें। लोगों की जनप्रतिनिधि की जिम्मेदारी होती है कि वो लोगों को समझाए। समझा लिया, समझाने जो गए थे और क्या करने गए थे, जहाँ समझाने की जरूरत थी वहाँ समझाया है, जहाँ छोटा करने की जरूरत थी वहाँ छोटा करेंगे, लोगों को कोऑपरेट करेंगे और लोगों से मेरी अपील है कि वो भी कोऑपरेट करें। और लोग भी चले गए थे आपकी गाड़ियों में बैठ के अंदर। कहाँ? आपकी गाड़ी में बैठ के अंदर गए थे। हमारी गाड़ी गई नहीं अंदर यार। आपकी गाड़ी अंदर गई थी, हमारे पास वीडियो अभी भी अंदर से आ रही है। आपकी गाड़ी पीछे आ रही है, हम पैदल गए हैं। आपकी गाड़ी पीछे आ रही है, गाड़ी खाली गई होगी, हम पैदल गए। ठीक है।
Well, and the other example, the visuals of which we got for you yesterday, viewers, of Manoj Tiwari playing cricket. Now, Manoj Tiwari, in fact, was very, very defensive about this, and he said he's not broken any norms. Alok joins me with more. Alok, he said, well, I followed the social distancing norms, but I believe he was seen without a mask. He was seen interacting with people, clicking pictures, and he traveled all the way to Sonipat for this.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, now it's a political blame game started in the national capital over his act, because he went there in Sonipat and he played the cricket. However, he said that he has not violated any social distancing norms or any lockdown orders, because the government has given the permission to play on the ground, and that's what he done. But he had not gone there as a spectator. But Aam Aadmi Party has come out with the allegation that it was completely insensitive act. As the MP, as the member of parliament, he cannot do this where the migrants are going and they are in such a situation, and this kind of act he has done. However, no action has been taken by the administration, but both the parties are now coming with their own suggestions and own justifications on this, but now it's completely become an issue.
All right, Alok, thanks so much for joining us. On that story, viewers, we got you 4 instances, but honestly, there are instances coming from different parts of the country almost every single day of netas being brazen about it, politicians, MLAs, ministers entering with their convoys, clicking pictures, distributing food, standing in a crowd, exposing themselves and risking lives of others. Now, if a common man does this, by the way, that man gets punished. There was a story that came today of a man who wanted to party and celebrate his 25th anniversary. And because he violated the norms of the lockdown and social distancing, the authorities acted against him. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen when the VVIP violators indulge in these kind of activities. Completely out of time on this edition of the Urban Debate. Thank you so much for joining us.